Let's now move on to another exciting session of Future Ready for the ITES industry. Joining us now, the Chief Information Officer at Wipro, Anup Purohit. Anup, of course, vast experience spanning from financial capital to the tech capital of the country, an aggressive enabler of innovation and a champion on the use of the cloud and open source technology and analytics. Anup, thank you so much for joining us. Take us through the roadmap. Take us through what are your strategic priorities when it comes to taking advantage of all the latest technologies to build out Wipro even further.
So thanks Vikram and Microsoft for having me over here. So it's close to a year that I'm now with Wipro. To be specific, it's 340th day for me. As you rightly mentioned, being a banker, technologist for over 2.5 decades. It's the first time me being associated with the ITES company. So it's I would say an eventful year for me to understand this domain. I've always been a consumer of the partners like Wipro. So when coming on this side of the table to understand how Wipro as a business was I would say a lot of eye opener for me. It's a pretty big opportunity for me to now broad-based so financial, yes, one part which will always remain with me, but now the scale is different. It's at a global level. We are talking about an entire ITES domain which it covers, which is a different perspective. We know that Wipro's journey, personally for me, I have worked with them as a partner over a period of time, and we know that how inventive and how focused they are when it comes to the customer delivery. Now, where we are at a stage wherein we have kind of taken a conscious call, the entire management starting from Rishad downward, and then that what next for Wipro from here on. So starting from there, we've been kind of focusing on a core thought process where we want to go. So a few things which theory brings onto the table. One of the most important thing is being bold. What has happened is historically we've been particular way of working. Now, one of the important agenda for us is to ensure that we question ourselves, be bold, be aggressive in terms of identifying what we want to achieve. One of the things which is most important is how do we simplify our business model and how do we simplify our operating model. Business model has been done already by theory, as everybody would have seen. He's simplified into 4x2 matrix, which is 4 geographies and 2 delivery organizations. So pretty simple for us. Likewise, we are simplifying every business operations process, which will help. The last thing which is the core strategic priorities for Wipro, I would say, is to see how do we lay a foundation stone so that from here we rebuild another 30 years for us looking ahead. And obviously it's easier said than done part. Now, personally for me, so that's a Wipro strategy. Personally for me is to ensure that I focus in at least 6 different buckets which are aligning with the overall Wipro strategy. The first being in terms of simplification of the internal technology processes. Second is how do we create kind of a future-ready technology within the Wipro. That's important part of it.
All right, I just want to take you through some of those in turn. But first, as a basic question, when it comes to a big player or legacy player, now here you have a company like Wipro, seen as being one of the leaders in technology, not just in India, but around the world, right? That's the heritage. That's where you're coming from. So sometimes is it tough to tell a company like Wipro, which that we need to adopt new technologies, we need to learn from others, we need to find ways of changing what we are doing, because sometimes there may be a view that, but we are the best at this already. We've already done this all along. Why change something why fix something if it's not broken? Is that an issue which you run into?
Not really. Honestly, one of the beauty what I could find over here is that openness. What I could find from top down, from Rishad, Thierry, and his entire management is everybody is open for a change. Everybody is open to be questioned in their respective areas, how to do things differently. So that's the beauty of what I've seen at Wipro. Whether if I have something which I have to ask my CFO that your finance processes needs to review, they are openly accepted, kind of reviewed and accepted. Likewise, in the HR or in the security area, those are outside my domain. But still, we have a open-mindedness, I would say, where people are willing to change, and that's the leadership which flows down from Rashad and theory, and that's what create a very transparent working environment over here. So to answer the question, no, no resistance. Everybody is, in fact, people are encouraged to challenge the processes and to see how we can improve it.
So, Anup, just wanted to understand, the silos is obviously not something that can really be sustained in any modern day organization. If you want to be future ready, you've got to break the silos. What's the most effective way of doing that? Are you using data to break the silos? Is it more a communication issue? How does that happen?
To answer the question, Vikram, yes, data is very important to break the silos, and I'll tell you why. Because everybody has their own way of kind of using data in terms of breaking the silos. Now, from our point of view, for me, the way I look at it, data is like an oxygen. It has to be part of our daily life. Historically, in an organizations, data are segregated business unit wise, but unless you have a common data lake platform or a data lake strategy, you can't cut across all the units if you don't have that in place. Now at Wipro, one of the important thing I can tell you is for us, data is going to be the strategy going forward. Historically, we used to have a data segregated, as I said, shared to the various business unit. The moment data is out of your core systems, the integrity of the data gets questions, and then everybody uses the data in the way they want. So now with the data lake coming into play, everybody sees a unified view of the data, same view, whether it's the numbers in terms of the sales, or whether it's the risk, or whether it's an audit or any governance. It's the same data which gets looked upon by everyone, which brings kind of a consistency and I would say unification in the way we operate as an organization. But now we have to see, basis the data, how can we change ourselves from the intuition based decision to a data driven kind of a decision. That's important area which we have kind of taken a shift.
Right, and obviously data leads to analytics, as you're saying, and sometimes it should and it can lead to predictive analytics, right? So which are the areas that has the biggest impact? Is it in employee satisfaction, countering attrition, or other areas altogether?
It is across, I would say, a part. So the first thing what we did, I would say, is how do you ensure that you create your data lake not in isolation as a technologist. You create your data lakes in collaboration with various businesses being part of it. See, normally and as you rightly said, in an organization like Wipro, we had a different source of data. The employee masters, the customers masters, the partners, and across data are separate. So the first important thing was to collaborate with all the business unit, whether it's a sales, delivery, finance, HR, to build a common data lake platform. I think that was the first most important thing. The second most important thing was to ensure that we create our data platforms with a top-down approach. One of the important things for me was to see when I have to create a technology platform which is future ready, and that's what we have built using Azure Data Lake. But that's just the foundation part. Important is that how do I create the business engagement part of it? What they are looking out from the entire data lake? What are their sources of data? How do I ensure those data sources are there centrally? How do I enrich them and kind of so that was the second thing what we did in putting in place. Now, what are the problem statement we are going to solve by having this data lake in place? Multiple of them. So obviously, one important element is first, if I classify into two buckets, the business, which is the end customers, and the second was the internal. So from business point of view, what we can do is once we have the catalog in place, then we know that in a BFSI as my customer segment, if I am selling A, B to a bank 1 or a CD in a bank 2, I know I have an opportunity to do a cross sell and kind of increase the wallet share among the banks. So now this comes in as a more of a predictive and a prescriptive way to tell my businesses that this is you need to do. So this will help us to grow on our business. There are a lot of accounts which have gone dormant for whatever reasons and we will run some analytics to see how we can rejuvenate or make them active again. So this is going to be food for thought coming in from analytics to my sales team.
All right. Last question, when you're looking at your clients and everyone else, which are the industry verticals that you are seeing where the most exciting work is happening, where they are accelerating adoption of AI, ML, where they are getting actionable intelligence, where they're actually transforming their businesses?
So I'll break this into two areas. First, to answer the question directly in terms of which are the other domains which are focusing. So honestly, there is no silver bullet, Vikram, answer. In the last 2 years, you would have seen the adoption of the digital and the spike in the data has become humongous. So we're seeing a large shift in that area. Data has grown like anything. Now, if I want to give you an example, the companies which were born natively on cloud, I would say they have a lot of advantage as compared to a monolithic giants like ours or any other historical banks or other areas, I would say, on that. But at the same point in time, I would feel the retail industry has grown big in terms of data analytics part of it. The second one I would call the banking part of it. That's a significant adoption because they have a huge data sitting with them and they have now realized the potential of the data and they want to kind of grow on that. The third, I would say, healthcare industry. I can see this. I watch on it's measuring my blood rate. Pressures in terms of the heart rates, and then it's not only restricting itself, it is actually prescriptive in terms of what I should do to ensure. So healthcare is,
go for a run, go for a walk, exercise, close your rings. Yeah,
absolutely. So even when I'm going for a run, if my heartbeat reaches let's say 180, it says okay, you are going beyond, slow down on that. It gives me a beat. So a lot of prescriptive way of running it. So that is a part of it. But if I was to give you on ITeS side, what we are doing now, for example, we give a lot of kind of analytic solution to our customers. But as I mentioned earlier, that we were a bit slow in our own adoption. One of the major reasons I would say was we just went live with our core, I would say, ERP implementation across 65 countries recently, just on Jan end. So that was one important reason why we we were slow in that, because that's our major source of data which has to feed into the systems. Now, what we are doing is, the good part is there is a sponsorship from board on the data analytics side. In last 2 months, I would have met with, I would say, 4 or 5 different board members, and each one of them had the same questions in terms of the data analytics. So the focus it shows from top down. Even prior to that, I would say somewhere around last year's last quarter, Thierry has started something called as a Project Insight, which is basically nothing but the data lake implementation and how do we run the business intelligence out of it. So he's already started engagement with us on that front. And fortunately, for us, we are 100% on Azure cloud. So most of our data is on the cloud. So it was not that difficult for us to adopt the Azure data lake kind of a technology so that we can have the complete data in a single source, which becomes our actually single source of truth. Now, in this, once you have your data in place, you have to have your partnership with business in place, because without business's functional domain expertise, it will be difficult. It will be difficult for a technologist to run the entire, I would say, business intelligence. Not that we can't run, but it's important to collaborate and partner with them. So this is the normal journey part of it. So I would say we are pretty advanced in terms of running our entire, I would say, a predictive analytics stage. We have reached there. Are we in the space wherein we have our own internal AI ML based model? Not there as yet. We will be with the help of Microsoft, and that's our next roadmap which we are working, so that we are prescriptive in terms of telling business, telling HR, telling finance that what needs to be done in their respective areas, so that is the real sense, I would say, business intelligence which we can provide to our internal businesses. So that's where we stand.
All right. Anup Purohit, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Nice meeting you, Vikram.